Alright guys, welcome back to Juan's The Outdoor Adventures. We are back with another Real Talk episode. This one's going to be about work ethic. Today we got Kenny Nolan, my roommate. I've known him for almost 2 years, 1.5 I think. So, reason why Kenny's here is because I feel like this person, Kenny right here, is the best person that I know that has work ethic. He's a student athlete. He runs. He's a nursing major. While doing that, he holds a 3.0 and above. Kenny, you want to talk about? You want to start us off with some work ethic? Just what do you think about it, and how do you balance it?
Okay. Work ethic, I think, is something that you have to develop over time, and that starts with small steps. So jumping into something like nursing school right off the bat is really going to be difficult if you haven't done stuff that requires certain levels of commitments, time that you put towards something like a goal that you might have. So balancing that is something that you learn with experience. You can't really be taught that, and it's kind of one of the big requirements, I'd say, for I guess kind of maturing as an adult, is learning how to balance certain things, because it makes you a more not just efficient worker, but efficient person overall. You got to be able to balance certain stressors in life if you want to achieve things that are, very big goals that you set for yourself. So that's a skill in itself, is being able to balance things. I mean, nursing school is a lot different from other majors, I'd say, because it's
the hardest, I believe.
One of the hardest, I guess, and then you have to be able to commit to studying lots of big bouts of information at a time. And then on top of that, when you go out and, do any sport, really, in my case, running,
cross-country track.
Yeah, you got to make sure it's something you enjoy and that it's like a stress reliever rather than a stress inducer, because it can be a stress inducer, but you got to make sure it's something that you're able to clear your head a little bit and
find an escape.
Yeah, there you go. Find an escape, because that's something you need with having a good work ethic. Is part of that balance that we talk about, is you got to be able to have times, a lot of time dedicated towards, working really hard at something, and then time to recover from that and recharge yourself. That's also just as important. So work ethic is not learned, it's found through experience.
Yes. So, a couple other things. With work ethic, you'd have integrity, honesty, discipline, fair and respect, and responsibility and accountability. Those are the top things that you need to have a good work ethic. If you can't have one, then you can't have the others. Okay? With integrity, do the right thing while no one's looking. Okay? Honesty. If you are in a relationship, or if you are taking a test, be honest. Don't cheat. Don't be that type of person where you're out there and not being honest, especially with yourself. Discipline. That's something we have to acquire it. We have to find it. You have to be able to abstain from things that are a distraction. Fairness and respect. Treat everyone fair and respect. Okay. In the workplace, you're gonna have people that you're not gonna like, but at the end of the day, you're a team, so you have to work as a team. You have to be a team player. Responsible and accountability. Everyone needs to be responsible and accountable. People are gonna trust you, and you're gonna be trusted in your team, and you just have to do that. All right.
think that's good. Yeah, like I mean, accountability is a lot of the times the realistic thing is you're not always going to have someone there to hold you accountable. So that's another thing you have to learn with experience is holding yourself accountable. You
Yes.
can't have someone there to hold you accountable. That's like one of the biggest things actually that you have to learn. You have to force yourself to be responsible and get stuff done. Otherwise, because you got to realize if you don't get certain stuff done, you're not going to hit the goals. It's just black and white at that point. You're not going to hit the goals you set out for yourself if you don't do what you need to do. And that's
Yes.
important to realize.
It also falls in integrity. If you're not doing the right thing, then you can't. No one could trust you at that point. Then that's something that you have to work on yourself and learn, keep learning. Every day's a learning experience. If you're not learning, then you're not doing something right, because that's what life is supposed to be. If you consider going to school for 12 years and then on top of that go to college, and you consider yourself not a student at that point, at the point you graduate, then that's not true actually, because every day every day is a challenge. Every day is a new day that you're gonna have to learn, and you're gonna have to learn how to treat people with respect. You're gonna have challenges that come up, and you're gonna have to face them. It could be something like having a flat tire on a road. Okay, then you learn how to turn a flat, or learn how to change a flat tire on the road. That's gonna be a struggle, but it's a challenge that you're gonna have to find as an adult. ¿Quién más? Oh, consistency. One thing too. You always have to be consistent with it being your studies or your running, okay? You can't miss a day of work, of schoolwork, because then you're behind. Or you have to study even if you're tired. You've had 6 hours sleep and you've been up since, say you go to sleep at 12, and you wake up at 6, and this is 9 o'clock at night. You're gonna be up for the next couple hours either studying or working out. Those days are gonna hurt, but at the end of the day, being in college, you're gonna you're gonna have a lot of sleepless nights, but at the end of the day, it's gonna be all worth it. You get a good get a good job, hopefully a high paying job, but those aren't gonna matter. Those days suck, but those are the days that you have to make count. Consistency is the name of the game. If you can't, if you're not motivated, be disciplined, because maybe you go to the gym, and you're motivated to go to the gym one day, and the next day you're not. Well, you're gonna have to be disciplined with it, because you're gonna have to get your ass up and go to the gym, okay? Even though you don't want to do it. I'm sure everyone's like that. If you don't have what?
Yeah, that is true.
So that's exactly what you got to be able to learn how to do. If you don't have this discipline, then you're nothing. Because if you have discipline, you could do a lot more things than a motivated person. Because some people don't have motivation to do shit. So that's just how it is.
That is true. And on those days where you don't have motivation, you got to rely on discipline, which in turn is going to bring back your motivation, because you're going to still see progress. And the more progress you see, that's what fuels your motivation to keep going. Because if you were just stagnant the whole time, you're not going to be wanting to do stuff. And even then, like if you might get sick of being stagnant. That's another thing. Being the same over and over again, seeing the same results. That's another thing. You want to push yourself to be better. So you got to change something or do something at a higher level.
Yes. With one other thing is what? What's the time on this? 9 minutes. Not that bad. Yeah. Almost 10 minutes. So.
Gotta get that ad revenue.
10 minutes. Oh, that's even if we get anything. I doubt, so here's one, Kenny made a good point. Get the ad revenue, as me being a YouTuber, you can't expect or starting off your first job, you can't expect success right away. You're going to fail. That's inevitable. And you're going to need to fail to learn, to know what you could do to advance. What can you do better? How can you change this to do to change this? Okay, how it's all about like working to be better, so you know what to do in the future. So with that, being a YouTuber is you cannot find, if you're thinking about going into say if you're gonna go into a career field where it's being a doctor, a travel nurse, and you think about just the money, you're not thinking about the right way. You're gonna have to.
You're not gonna enjoy your time.
Exactly.
Well.
Yeah, you might be making a lot of money, but you're gonna be burnt out by soon. And that's a real thing. Burnout is one thing that's really bad, but if you just gotta be able to you gotta enjoy what you're doing. Have a job, go to a job that you enjoy. Maybe you have to deal with some bullshit, but at the end of the day, you're helping people out, especially in the healthcare industry. And enjoy it, because we're on this earth for we don't know, tomorrow could be our last day. We don't know it. You just got to make every day worth it, and constantly advance and get better. That's what you have to do to be what you want to be.
That is true.
Yeah. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey within what you want to do with your life. So if you're 60 years old, you're retired, and you look back and you could see just the amount of lives and people you changed in a positive way, which is makes a big impact on you and the people that you helped, a positive impact, which I think is great. Ultimately, why do you want to be a nurse?
I like the science behind it, the physiological science for just human beings as a whole. I think it's really interesting to just be involved in different healthcare settings, having a lot of patients with different physiological issues, like patients with diabetes, stuff you see that's a little bit more common. Like I said, diabetes, fluid overloads, impairments in different body systems. It's really, really interesting stuff because there's a lot of physiological science behind it. And yeah, I really like helping people, and I really like socializing with, my patients and being a part of their care, but the physiological science behind it is super interesting to me. And I think any healthcare worker would agree. It's just being able to see some of the stuff that goes on in hospitals and clinics and even long-term care is really interesting. So it's really worth it.
Yeah.
Especially when you get to learn about it in class and then see it in person in clinical the next day.
Mm-hmm.
It's super fun.
Yeah. I think that's why a lot of people go into the healthcare industry, is just to change people for the better. You're helping people, you're saving lives, you're impacting a lot of people in a very positive way, which I think is awesome. And it's also a lot of people, no, more or less, people, I would say, don't give them a lot of credit. People would give, say, the doctors, but I feel like nurses run the bitch. Honestly,
Yeah.
It's true. There's more nurses than doctors. Yeah, the doctors make the decisions
Yeah.
at the end of the day, but nurses are the ones primary caring for the patients.
Yeah, that's another thing. I feel like nurses in this day and age should be educated enough to understand why doctors, put in certain orders, the cares they provide. It's really, it's really important to not just follow orders blindly in the healthcare setting, because that's how accidents happen, and that's how people die. So it's important when you're able to question something, like a question an order from the doctor, you should question it. And it's important to really, that's why you shouldn't cheat on your tests, and
right.
When you go to take your boards, you should know what you're talking about, because there's going to be situations where if you mess something up, it's going to be really bad, like it just, if you follow some orders blindly and you don't know why or what you're doing, you're gonna get someone hurt or killed. And that's why it's really important to put an emphasis on the physiological science behind things. You should know, like me in clinical, we're forced to do it, but I still do it anyways. Like I try to make it a habit. We're forced, we're told to look up all of our meds before we give our patients our meds. We're supposed to be looking up our meds, what they do, why our patient is taking it, what kind of interactions with their body systems and the medications that will occur. And you should really understand why you're doing things, not just do it, because the doctor says to, or because someone tells you to do it. You should understand why you're doing something. So you got to put in the time to learn that stuff. So
yeah. And then this all ties into a work ethic. You don't really want to have a nurse that's dumb. Or a person that cheated on their boards. Obviously, those people aren't going to be nurses, but again, you might be able to pass your boards, but you need more an extent of say knowledge of knowing what you're going to actually do. So those days that you're going to have to be studying, doing clinicals and going above and beyond basically to be able to do your job better every single day, and just with experiences.
Experience is everything.
Exactly.
You don't get hired based off your grades. You get hired in nursing and healthcare. It's strictly off of experience and clinical hours. Yeah. So you're going to spend just as many hours on clinical sites as you do in the classroom, if not more. So no one's going to care about your GPA when they hire you. They're not going to ask you about your GPA
or your grades.
Yeah, they're never going to ask you that. Like they don't, it might look good on a resume if you're part of the nursing honor society, but it's still, it doesn't, it matters, but it doesn't. Experience is everything.
Yeah.
You just have to know what you're doing. You have to have experience on certain floors, areas or fields of nursing. Yeah. Like for me, I'm going into pediatrics. You have to know. They're gonna want experience, working with children, and whether it's in PICU or PACU, it's gonna be, they just want the experience, because it's such a high risk field to begin with, working with such a vulnerable population. So you gotta, like I said, you gotta learn to have a purpose with what you're doing, not just follow orders. And you have to know your stuff.
Yes.
And kids are so vulnerable to, you have to understand how medication administration works with kids, how to assess them properly. Kids are not just little adults running around. There's kids that, these kids are not fully, developed. They're not mature yet, so medication is going to affect them differently. We base their meds based off their weight. There's just so many different factors with kids that makes them such a vulnerable population. So you have to know what you're doing. And same with old people too. I've worked with old people. That's how I started. And it's the same deal. You got to know the physiological differences between, adults, old people, and kids. And if you don't take the time to learn it, you'll never I guess be successful.
Exactly.
One thing that I live by that helps me a lot is if you don't ask questions and don't take the time to learn it, you're gonna be an idiot forever. But if you ask questions you know, and take the time to learn, you're only an idiot for a small period of time.
Yeah.
So never be afraid to ask questions to people, and you should always be surrounded by people who know more than you, and you should be willing to learn.
Yes.
Like, yeah, they might come off as a dick, you know, and have like a god complex. Sometimes you'll meet a lot of people like that, especially in healthcare, but you can still learn something from them. You should always be willing to learn stuff, even if it's the simplest things, because then down the line you can teach people too.
Yep.
Like, it's when I get older, I want to be able to teach student nurses too at clinical, if I ever have students come in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's with any major. I think any major should be just willing to learn as much as they possibly can.
Yeah. So, in conclusion, work ethic is a balance between integrity, honesty, discipline, fairness and respect, responsibility and accountability. Those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What is it? Yeah, right?
Crap.
Shit.
Well, good. I'm not a math major.
Yeah, me neither. Criminal justice. 1, 4, 7 words. If you don't have one of them, you can't have a good work ethic. They're all ties they're all tied within each other. Just, you gotta do it. You gotta take the risk. You gotta, take that all-nighter and learn. Continue learning, whether it's at school, whether it's in life. That's what you gotta keep doing. Keep rolling and just keep learning. That's all it is. Be the better person that you were. No, I would say
like the day before.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So thank you for watching this video. Please like, share, and subscribe, and have a good one. All right, peace out. Bye.